slide that we're on today. Last week we talked about the foundational skills to support reading for understanding in K through 3. We worked with a guide from our What Works Clearinghouse. This is a practice guide, and I will link everything in there for you and give you those links. But let's see. And you all just let me know if you can't hear. So we're just going to start out. This is our network, and I want to hear a little bit from you. I would like to know what your favorite pastime is for winter. So if you want to drop it in the chat, or if you want to come out, feel free to unmute. But go ahead and tell me what your favorite pastime is for winter. Okay. All right. Jessica says reading, winter or summer, spring or fall. All right. Michael says golf. Okay. Shannon says cooking. April says being excited for no school and then complaining about it in the summer. I think we're all that way, April. Danielle says winter, playing in the snow with my babies. Oh, I miss my babies. And Tiffany says staying inside where it's warm. All right. Did I miss anybody? Jessica, what kind of books do you like to read? Just all different kinds, or is there a different type or a certain type that you like?
I'm pretty varied.
Okay. All right. I like a lot of different things too. I like podcasts. I like to read different historical fiction, historical romance, different things like that. So a lot of devotionals and stuff like that. So I'm about like you, just different things that I like to read. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started now. Let's see. Go resume my share. Can you all see my screen? Oh, Melissa, I'll go ahead and drop the sign in back in there for you. There you go. So if anybody was late coming in, the sign in is in there. So just go ahead and go to the chat and sign in for me. All right, so we started off with just something fun to get everybody just something to network and to be together and to talk and kind of break the ice a little bit. So last week we talked a lot about academic language, and we were talking from the comprehension guide from What Works Clearinghouse, and I will drop that back into the chat for you. We're going to talk this week about narrative language, a little bit about the second part of the academic language is narrative language. And when you think about narrative language skills include the ability to organize information in a logical sequence and connect information. And those are those things like the plot and the sequence, things like that that kids need to know to be able to understand complex text. And then I'm not going to read all this to you, but just take a little look at this, the things that narrative language involves. Okay, those elements of the story. You have your retelling, your sequencing, summarizing, and connecting ideas. And then this video tells a little bit about connectives. Now, connectives are used within the text so that the students can, when they see those, they can associate or put sentences together, or they may be used in cause and effect. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing this. If you can't hear this, let me go ahead and check my audio to make sure that when I share this that you can hear it. Okay. Okay. Let me know if you can't hear, please. Drop in the chat.
Connectives are words that link or connect ideas. Examples include because, but then, later, instead, and suddenly. Connectives can be used within sentences to link two or more ideas together. Connectives can also be used to link ideas together in separate sentences and paragraphs. Some examples of when connectives are used include when we want to add information, sequence ideas, or highlight important information. Connectives can be used to explain why something happens. For example, she did not eat much because she was dissatisfied with the food. We had to discontinue the use of electronic devices so they wouldn't interfere with the airplane's equipment. Connectives can be used to explain why something may change because of something else. For example, unfortunately, the discussion ended in a dispute even though we were hoping we would have agreed on this issue. Connectives can be used when we want to give an example of something. The cat was small and quiet, unlike the huge barking dog. Connectives can be used to express time and to explain when something happens. For example, children go to preschool before they go to kindergarten. The Earth travels around the sun one time each year. During this time, it spins around on its axis one time every day.
Okay, I want you to look at these and think about what are connectives and why are they important to teach? And can someone tell me, unmute, or just let me know, did you hear the video okay? And was it a little bit grainy? Because I may need to share a different way. Becky, was the video okay? I know I saw you get logged in there. Oh, it's in the chat here. Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't want to I don't want to start playing a video and it not play and for you all not to be able to see it. Okay, good. Thank you all so much for answering me in the chat. Thank you. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at that. Why are connectives important to teach and what are they? And what grade levels should teachers model connectives? What do you all think?
I think you could start modeling it as early as kindergarten. I mean, you couldn't really expect them to, produce text with connective words in there that early. But as far as having them, tell you a story, you can model. I mean, they could do connectives.
Yes. Anybody else? Thank you, Melissa. It's never too early to model those early language skills, is it? They may not know every little rule or anything, but at kindergarten, it's important to start modeling those narrative language skills. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? So this is important. There's a reason, there's a reason that I started with this connectives. I wanted to show you how that we can incorporate those when we're teaching narrative language skills. Okay, so it's important, as Melissa said, it's important for beginning readers to develop those skills so that they can understand the text and they can engage in those discussions that extend across multiple sentences. Because, we start out at the very, in kindergarten, we start out with those maybe 1 or 2 lines on a page. But when you're reading, you don't have to stick with 1 to 2 lines when you're sharing a read aloud or you're thinking about narrative language. You can go a little bit beyond and when you're talking and when you're in your read alouds. Because I do know the decodables are awesome, and there's a place for decodables because we do want, those are so important. They have to be able to decode what they're reading. Phonics skills are, and we're going to jump into phonics skills the next time because that's a part of this whole module. So, those are all important skills. But it's also important for kids to be read aloud to and to engage in those discussions around the text. So, a little bit of both. And if anybody wants to jump in here, please do, because, this is one of my passions, was to teach little ones to read. And I felt like that my time with them teaching phonics skills and decodables was just as important as the time that I spent with them in read alouds and talking about those texts and why there was a capital here and why, what happened at the beginning, what happened at the middle, what happened at the end. All of that goes together when you engage them in those discussions. And they need both of those, don't they? And we see that in a lot of our HQIRs. Okay. All right, so narrative language skills are involve character, setting, plot, conflict, theme, point of view, and style. All right, so the next one that I'm going to have you all watch. This one is a group of students who are engaged in a lesson about language skills or narrative language skills. And what I want you to do is think about the lesson delivery. Think about how the teacher is modeling clear and explicit explanations. What is she using for guided practice? What is she using for independent practice? What is the teacher using? Or I want you to pay attention to the materials and resources, such as the illustrations, the video, and the objects. I also want you to pay attention to the student engagement. Are the students talking to each other? Are they focused? Are they volunteering? I want you to pay attention to that aspect as a student. Are they actively listening? I also want you to think about the feedback that she gives them. Think about her scaffolds, her prompts, her open-ended questions. If you have something there, I'd like for you to jot that down because I want to go back after this is over and I want to talk about those things that you see in this video. I want you to focus on the narrative language skills, such as the complex grammatical structures, the elements of linguistic structure. I want you to think about those things as you're watching this. Now, this is in the participant guide, and I think this would be a really good thing for me to go back here and grab that guide and put that in the chat for you. So if you will bear with me for just a minute. I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab that guide because this is on page 8, that guide. I'm going to drop that in the chat so you can find exactly what we're talking about here when I'm talking about the guide. That should take you, if you will go to page 8 in that document, it should take you to the guide. Okay, can everybody see that now? Is everybody able to open the guide? Okay. All right. So as you're watching this video, I want you to jot down, if you'll go to page 8 and kind of look at that, it'll be a little bit more clear for you as you're watching. And I want you to think about these things. I tried to bold. I don't like a lot of words on the slide because they get all, jumbled in our head when we, and when we're teaching children too, we need to be careful with that. So I want you to think about those clear and explicit explanations, those words that are jumping out in the bold there to you. Think about the guided practice, the independent practice, her prompts, and those open-ended questions. So if you can jot down some notes, and when we get back together, we can discuss what we saw as she was teaching this lesson. And let me know about sound and everything too, if it's fuzzy.
We want to make sure today that you can use clue words to help us find and understand cause and effect while reading. Would anybody like to share your thinking with us? Hey, Ava, what are you thinking?
I think the cause is really late on a school night, and effect is tired in the morning because if you stay up too late, you could be really tired in the morning.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
I think the cause is she ate too much cake because you can almost say in a sentence, "Cause I ate too much cake," or "Cause she ate too much cake."
So what's the effect? Because she ate too much cake and I didn't.
She had a stomach.
You guys agree? All right, great practice. So last week we also learned there are some clue words that sometimes can help us find the cause and effect. Anybody remember any of those clue words? There were a couple of clue words for cause, and there's a couple of clue words for effect. Justin, what do you remember?
Because.
Yes, and that is a clue for cause. And what's interesting is, look, it's part. Do you see the word cause and because? Does anybody else remember another clue word, Abigail?
Therefore.
Do you remember what it's for? A cause or effect? The effect. This is tricky. So that clue word, therefore, will help you find the effect. Like, it was cold this morning, therefore I wore my heaviest jacket. Does that sound good to you? Does anybody else remember another clue word, Lorenzo?
So.
And so also helps us find the effect. It was cold this morning, so I wore my biggest jacket. Does that sound good to you? All right, the last one is one since. Since it was cold this morning, I wore my heaviest jacket. All right, so those clue words can help us find cause and effect. We are gonna use these colors, blue and green, to help us mark when we find a cause or an effect. And whenever we find a cause, we're gonna mark it blue. And whenever we find an effect, we're gonna mark it green, just to help us analyze. So here's an example. After I read it, I want you to look for the clue words. See if you can find one. Cats take many naps because they have lots of energy and play for a long time. Put your thumb up if you can see one of those clue words. Okay, shout it out.
Because.
You did. You found because. I'm going to circle it in blue. Now, that should help you figure out which is the cause and effect in the sentence. Do you guys agree that because they have lots of energy and play for a long time is the cause? Yeah, and that clue word, did it help you find it? Yeah, now this is tricky because the cause doesn't always go at the beginning of a sentence, does it? All right, so Lorenzo, thank you. Who found the effect?
Cats take naps.
Cats take many naps. Does that make sense to you all? But that's the effect. All right, you guys did a great job. The effect will be green and the cause will be blue. And the reason I'm showing you this with the markers is because you guys are gonna get ready to do the same coding with a green and blue pencil to help you make sure you understand cause and effect. So I am gonna give you a piece, a text, and it looks like this. It's called, the title is Backpacks Mean Back Aches. I'm gonna read it to you first before I hand it to you. And then you and your partner are gonna work together to try to find some clue words to help you find cause and effect. There will be one cause and effect in the first paragraph, and you will write it here. You'll find another cause and effect in this paragraph, and you'll write it here. And you'll find a third cause and effect in the last paragraph, and you will write it here. What do you think happened first? Were the backpacks overloaded or did the kids get backaches? What do you think happened first? The backaches or the heavy backaches? You think that happened first? Then that's gonna be your cause. It's tricky when it's at the end of the sentence. Okay, you can use switch your colors. No big deal. But you're right, the backpacks were heavy and then the kids got the backaches. That makes sense, okay? Raise your hand if you'd like to share with us. Did you find a clue word that helped you find cause and effect?
Because.
Everybody else find because?
Yes.
Awesome. And so it should be blue, which is a clue word for cause. And so Derek, do you feel comfortable to share the cause and effect? Okay, is there anybody who feels comfortable to share the cause and effect here?
I think the cause is because backpacks are overloaded.
You guys agree? Yep, that happened first. The backpacks are overloaded, and then what's the effect after that? That causes the children to get the backaches. Did anybody find a clue word that helped you find cause and effect? The word since, and that is a clue word for cause. And it is hiding right here. So Connor, do you feel comfortable to share the cause and effect?
Cause is kids often carry more than they should. And the effect is backpacks becomes loaded.
Exactly. So that makes sense in my mind. I understand that the teachers are asking the kids to put more and more things in their backpacks, and that is what makes the backpacks too heavy.
Hey, what are you thinking there? If you look, let me go back and I'll share Think about those things that we were talking about just a second ago. I'll give you a second to jot down some things and some ideas. What did you see in the video? Okay. Becky said that she held them accountable. Let's see. Veronica said how she had them look for keywords to know cause and effect. And Melissa said she reviewed vocabulary and modeled examples. Okay. What else did you see? Okay, there was discussion. Good. Like the way she used the example of the cold jacket with each of the different words. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. She was very clear and explicit there, wasn't she, Melissa? Okay. Let me go back. I'm going to pull up. Okay. Tiffany said, or sorry, Michael said she took her time and didn't rush the lesson structure. Okay. Good. Tiffany said the teacher reviewed the clue words that they discussed in a previous lesson. She used 2 different colors for cause and effect to make it easier to analyze. She modeled a sentence with them, then allowed them to work with a partner to find cause effect in each paragraph, and she asked probing questions to get more information from her students. And Melissa said she liked the graphic organizers. Okay. Anything else? I think we went through and you guys did a great job with that, going through and really picking out all the important parts of this video. All right, so we did talk about, you guys came up with a lot of good observations from the video. I hope I didn't miss anybody because you guys did have a lot of good ideas and observations in there. Can you see how you would use this in your classroom? Because all of this that I'm doing is I want you to be able to take these things back and be able to use those in your classroom, or maybe with maybe we've got some principals and coaches on here who may be able to use these with the people that are in your building, the literacy, your K1, 2, and 3 grades. You may be able to go back and use those with them. So all of these are things that I'm trying to come up with for you all to be able to take back for them. All right, and we talked about the viewing guide on page 8. All right, so here's some key points, and you guys were spot on. You came up with a lot of these. The students developed narrative language skills by finding the cause and effect in an article about backpacks. She ensured student learning by teaching the lesson explicitly. She provided examples of cause and effect. She taught clue words to look for cause and effect and provided guided and independent practice. She also modeled and provided guided practice on how to color code text to analyze it for cause and effect. And someone said that in the text as well, or in the chat. The teacher facilitated a whole group discussion as well as provided opportunities for students to talk in pairs. And someone said that. So you guys came up with all of these, the key points that they really wanted you to pick up on. And she provided a lot of scaffolding in the prompts. I like that when she said the cause doesn't always go at the beginning of the sentence, because what came first, the backaches or the heavy backpacks. So the cause is not always first, and that's important for students to see as well. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to look at is academic vocabulary. Now, let me tell you, there were other videos, but we don't have a lot of time together. There were videos on retelling in kindergarten and first grade, some lower grades there, but I wanted to pick out a second grade group for this one, for the one that we did just for the last video. I wanted you to see a variety because, it's not kindergarten and first, but we also want to look at second and third in our network. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is academic vocabulary. And I want you to look at these three things before we start. Let me move this bar a little. What do you think it means to teach academic vocabulary in the context of other reading activities? So if you want to just unmute and talk or drop it in the chat, what do you think it means to teach academic vocabulary? This is kind of a big topic in literacy. How do you teach academic vocabulary? There's no right and wrong answers, guys. Go ahead and unmute and talk. How do you teach academic vocabulary? And what do you think it is?
Well, I teach special education and they're kindergarten, first and second. So I don't really have a lot of academic vocabulary in reading. The only one that I can think of that comes to mind is I do a thing. A lot of my kids can't. They can say the sounds, but they can't put the sounds together to like recognize the word. So we do continuous blending, and so we model that, and that's our word, continuous blend. And so that's the only one I can really think of.
Yeah, that's good, Melissa. That is a great example. Is there any more? Are there any more? We have one in the chat here. Let's go take a look at that one. Let's see. Jessica says, rather than specifically teaching words in isolation, you include them in meaningful reading experiences. Hopefully you have lots of context clues to help. Awesome. That's excellent, Jessica. That's a good point. Okay. Anybody else? You guys are great.
So one of the things that we do when we start a new book is we look at the words kind of like Jessica had said. We look at words around it, but then after we read the book, we always go back and write down our word and the definition of what it means in a vocab journal.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Veronica. Yeah, vocabulary journals are really good for kids to hold that information, isn't it? And just to be held accountable for those. And one thing I was noticing and I hope I don't give this away, but as I was reading and preparing, they said that these words shouldn't just be seen once or twice when teams get together and they're looking at that academic vocabulary. These words should be words that they see all year long, over and over in different text. So, all right, so let's go ahead and go on and we'll talk about some of the challenges that you may be facing. All right, so this comes from the practice guide. We had one more chat up here. Let's see. Melissa says irregular words, we call them heart words, but we define why these words are irregular. Okay. Yes, heart words are important as well, aren't they, Melissa? Because some words just don't look like they sound or look like they're spelled. So thank you. All right. So the practice guide talks about academic vocabulary, and it talks about how they are words that are common in writing and other formal settings, and that students need to learn to understand written text. Like there's an example, Melissa was given continuous blending. You know, what does it mean when we say that? Academic vocabulary frequently appears in instructions for assignments, activities across subject areas. Examples of academic vocabulary may include listen, examine, locate, define, select, contrast, estimate, and concentrate. And they can also be stock phrases that are common in speech, such as away they went, or sorry, that are not common in speech, such as away they went. You know, you don't say that a lot, away they went. Or like we used to have a little book that we would read all the time, and it would say, along comes Jake. It's ways that we don't normally talk, or, you know, so, you know, these are words that are a part of the academic vocabulary. All right, so the purpose, and we've got 15 minutes here. We've got time for one more video. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate explicitly, or how to explicitly teach academic vocabulary in the context of reading, speaking, and listening. And this one is a grade 2. I'm going to set the context up a little bit here for you. This is video 9 in your practice guide, and you have availability to all of those videos. They're awesome, and they're good ways to involve your professional learning within your school or within your PLCs. It's a whole class, 17 students, and the text is coins. I'm going to go ahead and get that started for you, and I want you to just kind of observe and jot down your notes there.
Well, I'm gonna call on a couple of volunteers to answer that question. Coins are blank. Remember, when somebody's sharing, we turn and look at our partners. Blake.
Coins are money, and they are little circles that have presidents on them, and they have you can use lots of them to, if you can use like 100 of some
100 of what?
pennies,
Give me 100 pennies equals what?
$1.
Good job. Who can use our prompts and continue that conversation? Ashlyn?
I agree with Mike because they do have presidents on them, and if you have, sometimes you can do dimes to make 100 too.
Okay, can you give me an example? How many dimes would you need to make 100?
10.
When I ask you a question, I'm also going to ask you where you found it. What paragraph? Which United States president was the first to appear on a presidential coin? Erin.
Washington, George Washington.
And where did you find that information?
Under presidents in your pocket.
What happened at the US Mint? Find it and point to it in your text. What happened at the US Mint? Rebecca?
That's where money is made.
Where did you find that? What paragraph?
2.
Paragraph 2. What does debating mean and how do you know? Adriana?
I think it means arguing,
How do you know?
because it says people have been debating or arguing
Okay, where did you find that? In what paragraph?
in paragraph 3.
Okay, go to paragraph 3. Do you see how sometimes when we're talking about a word, it's bold, it's in bold letters? So find the bold letter, the bold word debating. After you see the word debating, what does it say?
Or arguing.
Good. So sometimes in the text, it will tell you exactly what that word means right after it. So in this particular instance, it says or arguing right after the word debating. So we know that debating means arguing. What does honor mean?
To give a person public praise or an award for something he or she has done.
Excellent. Good job. Every Veterans Day, we honor soldiers with a parade in our town. What's the word?
Honor.
This time when I read it, I want you to say it with me when we come to that word. Our class performed a concert to
Honor.
our principal, who was retiring. Who can use this prompt and fill it in for me? Same hands going up. Ricardo.
We honor our mom and dad by Mother and Father Day.
Hey, did everybody hear that?
Yes.
Okay, good job. Like,
We honor George Washington by putting him on a coin.
Sydney.
We honor Martin Luther King by saying it doesn't matter if you're black or white. We honor the earth by cleaning up trash. We honor Sydney by helping her with her crutches.
You're gonna choose either a scientist or thief is less likely to be honored because blank. Which one of these would be less likely to be honored and why? I need somebody to say this, and then the rest of you, I want you to be thinking because you may agree or you may disagree, and I want you to use the prompt to explain why. Hayden.
Science is less, it is less likely to be honored because it steals stuff.
Because if they steal things, and we wouldn't honor somebody who steals things. I see some clam clapping, so some people agree with you. Read.
I think both is less likely to be honored because a scientist may explode stuff and explode the whole building, and a thief steals stuff. So I think the less likely to be honored.
So it depends on what the scientist does.
Yeah.
Okay.
He might be called a scientist. I agree, but I also think that since they're both, I think that they're both probably gonna get honored. Cause if a thief steals, probably some people in jail or something are probably gonna honor him because they probably did something like that and they want him to keep doing. And then scientists would also get honored if he made something cool.
Okay, so you think that both of them could be honored?
Like a scientist made a
and I think you gave some really good reasons on why you think that. So great job understanding the word honor, everybody. Just like we do any other word that we have learned, we're gonna add this to our word wall. So, Adriana, can you go and put that under the H for me?
I'll please do it.
Okay, let's see here. Melissa said they learned about coins and honor. Jessica said, I liked how she asked them to tell where in the reading they found the answer, learning to be responsible for their learning. Kayla said the teacher asked all students to find and point to answers in text. When students answered questions, she asked them where they found it. The teacher pointed out bold words in text, asked for multiple examples, not just the meaning. Yes, Kayla, I think that was the key there. She asked for multiple places. You didn't just hear, this is what honor means and go on. She had multiple examples, didn't she? What steps did she take to ensure that learning? Got it. Sorry about my typo there. I see it. Okay, let's see. Melissa said the students were familiar with explaining their reasoning. They used the prompts correctly. Tiffany said the students learned about the word honor. The teacher gave many examples of how the word could be used. She used a reading passage to enhance the vocabulary word. She asked for many examples from the students, and she added the word to their classroom word wall at the end of discussion. Yes. So it shouldn't be a word that should just be once in isolation, right? She had many ways of interacting with the word honor. And like one of the ladies there said, the kids knew how to bounce back and forth off of each other. And I thought they had some respectful discussion as well. What kind of feedback did she give? Like when the little boy would, I'm sure where she was going with the thief and the scientist is, which one would be less likely. But when the little boy got off on the thief should be honored as well and all this, she didn't do that. She didn't disregard his thinking, did she? She said, well, you've given us reasons. And so, the little boy, he may have been, it may have, and this may happen to you as well, it may not be the answer you expect from them. But they all seem to grasp the definition of honor and what it meant, what honor meant. Okay, did you feel like that they were attentive and interested in the lesson? Okay, so I'm going to stop right there with this. This is the last one. We're about out of time. I'm going to go, but please make sure to go back in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing this one and I'll go back and get our feedback. If you'll give me just a second to drop that in the chat. If you want to unmute while I'm doing this, if anyone wants to just talk about what you saw today. What I would really like to know from you is what the next speaker that you would like to hear. I did talk to Kim Sargent, and I told some of you this. We were talking about letting her come on and show you how you can use social studies in collaboration. It shouldn't just be taught, in isolation, especially in the grades K through 3. And she and I were talking about maybe next time that she could come on and be our guest speaker and talk about, ways that you could incorporate. And I know a lot of you do this. When I taught first grade, I did this as well. Most of my social studies came from the reading series that I taught, or, I integrated that in my literacy lessons. So, but she's going to maybe give us some ideas if that would be something that you would be interested in for the next time. Is there anything else that you would like to see? Let's see, did I miss anybody's chat? There were some good ones in there. Okay.
Pam, I would be interested in something that has to do with a lot of my students have poor working memory, and I have a hard time getting them to even like remember easy sight words, or I know that they have a hard time tracking across the print also. So anything to do with like a memory, like I don't know what that would be.
Okay.
That would be good.
When words are hard to remember, or just getting those words to be in their known vocabulary, just
Right,
like,
like they don't have any sight word recognition at all.
all right. Okay, good. Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else? If you want to just email me and say, hey Pam, as part of our K-3 literacy network, I would like to explore this, or I would like to see this person come on for us. Katie is really good about giving us some updates. You know, Kim is going to do that for us next week or next month, but I can also be looking up those things, talking about ways to help us remember those sight words, Melissa. Absolutely. You're talking about I love to do things like that. So it's always been my passion to see little ones read. But just if you don't care to go ahead and go in there and drop it. I dropped the feedback form in the chat for you. If anyone else has any suggestions, please let me know now. I've enjoyed this. I always enjoy you all. You always give good discussion in the chat, or just always really good about that. So it would make it really boring if I was the only one ever contributing to the discussion. So thank you so much. And just go ahead and drop in the chat there and get the feedback form. And I'll stay on here for just a second.